bonus hole surgery, and it's free. Canada strikes again. Talk to us.
Speaking of science being used for evil and not for good, and I'll preface this. Look, the bottom line to this story. In Canada, there is a man who, according to psychiatrists or his psychiatrist, identifies as female, but not fully female. And so wants to have a procedure known as or referred to as a vaginoplasty without penectomy. That means,
Rob, write that down.
I already have it.
We fabricate a neo-vagina, a bonus hole. I'm not calling it a vagina either, but an extra hole.
Open wound.
But you do not go through with the penectomy. And the only reason why this actually made the news, whatever adults want to do with their bodies, put those bolts under your skin, tattoos, split your tongue, more power to you. The issue in this question was, does the province of Ontario have to pay for this procedure under the Ontario Health Insurance Plan? So the question was, the dude wants it. Can he get it done? There's a place in Texas that does it. He argued that the province has to pay for it under the socialized health care.
So he wants to chop off his junk.
No, not chop it off.
Wait,
keep it.
He wants
and
both.
the reason why he wants to keep it is because in the decision, which I read all of these decisions to remove the penis would impact orgasm. No shit. That's one of the problems that we talk about when we talk about the long-term effects of these,
So where does he want the bonus hole?
I don't know where
like on his foot, under his foot.
Kelly, can we play the joke that we lined up here? This is my favorite line from Kill Bill 2, but it's applicable right now.
Is that what you're saying? What are you trying to convince me of exactly? That you're as useless as an asshole right here?
Well, I'll tell you, with the advent of modern science, we might be installing assholes here, vaginas here. So bottom line, the guy sues, or at least the Ontario Health Insurance Plan denies coverage. Says, dude, we're not paying for that. Then he takes them to the Administrative Tribunal of Ontario. They say, no, you have to cover it, because otherwise it would be a charter violation to deny this medical service. It goes to the higher courts. The Court of Appeal says, yes, you have to cover it because it's provided for in the schedule of covered procedures, and it would be a charter violation not to. And so not only does public money have to pay for this, it's going to go to Texas, because nobody in Canada does this vaginoplasty without a penectomy, which it's Frankensteinian to me, because from what I understood, when you make a neo-vagina, you use the penis flesh for the portion of the inside.
They fold it.
So the fact that he wants to do this without that, I don't know how it's done. I don't know where it goes. There's only so much room down there. But the shocking part is that the courts came out and said, public money has to pay for this. And the reason why this is particularly egregious, what adults want to do with their body, go for it. But why this is not public money funding elective cosmetic surgery is a separate issue. There's a woman that I interviewed named Kayla Pollack, who was rendered a quadriplegic by a certain experimental medication that we are all very familiar with now.
Oh, the weird one?
She was rendered by the Moderna. This is all confirmed by doctors.
I love that we're tippy-tongue because we have.
And she was rendered a quadriplegic. Was initially told it's all in her head. Was then told, well, okay, now this is it. This is your life. And was offered death, medical assistance in dying, euthanasia in Canada because it'll be cheaper. It'll be we can't cure you. Have you thought about killing yourself? She has to raise money so that she can get a wheelchair accessible vehicle. She has to raise money because the government is not providing for her what she needs to survive her injury. And then meanwhile, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars this vaginoplasty without a penectomy is going to cost that the taxpayers now have to flip the bill for. That goes to Texas, money out of the country. It's wild. It's if we can just bring up the tweet from Kayla Pollack. This is her. Just found out that my muscles are wasting away because my therapy isn't covered by the same Ontario Health Insurance Plan that is going to cover the vaginoplasty without a penectomy. But gender reassignment surgery and counseling is free for them, while I have to wait on a list for 3 weeks of therapy after being paralyzed. And
by the you know what.
Wow. And
look at the warning that they put underneath that.
See the latest, you know what?
Come on,
I never noticed they do that on Twitter. Oh, well, that makes me a little angry.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
So that's the bottom line madness of Canada. As bad as you thought it was, it's only getting worse exponentially.
David, I can't explain to you, to all the fans from Canada, I love you guys. I get so many messages on Connect, on Instagram, on X, they're messaging me, and they're like, you have no idea. Talk about this, talk about that, expose them. Bro, this all goes to Trudeau. This is all these freaking policies that this guy's putting up, from the truckers to the carbon tax to the transgender. Like, what?
Oh, and by the way, you want to kill yourself? You want euthanasia? You'll get a doctor faster than you'll get a GP.
Holy crap.
It's atrocious. And I do just want to highlight this. Adults can do whatever the heck they want with their body if they are of sound mind and they know what they're doing. I see people slit their tongues and it's like, it looks like a lizard.
Little lizard.
Dude, it's your body. But taxpayers don't have to pay for this type of stuff.
Yeah, and by the way, just out of curiosity, Rob, I'll go to you first.
Yeah.
Rob,
Yeah.
let's just say you have mental issues and you're like, you know what? I want the bonus hole without the what?
Without the penectomy.
What's the penectomy?
You keep your junk and you get
keep your junk.
You get a new
Where
trunk.
do you put it, Rob?
I don't know. I wrote bonus hole. Can't get to see my wife's first or second ones. So
Like,
maybe I need the third. Maybe I got to get her to get this surgery. Let me have fun.
You can get it yourself, and that way you can do it to yourself.
Or you can put, think about it. You could get 2 of them under both of your feet and just hook up with the guys.
All day.
But what also drives me nuts is it's Frankensteinian experimental surgery. And oftentimes I interviewed Tulip R. Ritchie, who's a boy, was convinced that he could go for the gender reassignment surgery. And when he woke up from the surgery, and I remember him telling me this when we interviewed, he said he's lying on the table, groggy, having come out of this surgery where they removed his penis and created a neo-vagina. They flash a mirror down there, and he says, it looked like someone, he's a British guy, he says, it looked like someone went at my groin with an axe.
Jesus.
So I've seen.
Did he
Okay,
consent?
I didn't pay for this. Let me start by saying that. I've seen a man-made vagina
Oh my God.
in person.
In person.
I worked on the radio in Tampa, Florida, and we had a I don't want to say hermaphrodite. I believe it was a transgendered individual. It was a man that went to a female, and we were very curious. We're like, well, we'd like to see it. And this is 2013.
This is by surgery, not born with both.
Yes, this was done by surgery, and the person came in. We did a foam party. Have you ever been to a foam party? It's where
I can't breathe. I'm claustrophobic. Foam.
Foam,
can't-
like sides. So
I hate it.
We wrapped the whole studio in plastic and tarp, and then we had a whole bunch of girls come in bikinis, and then we had to try and guess which one was the transgendered one. And then the girls got naked, and we saw the transgendered person's vagina. And it,
High quality operation. You're working for
yes,
out
I
there,
know,
Rob.
very. That was on the radio.
On par for Tampa.
It was awful to look at. Like in person, you're like, just imagine what you're talking about. Like they call it the axe wound, a hatchet wound. It looked like someone had mutilated somebody's genitals, and I can't imagine continuing to live your life with that. Like we talk about, we did an episode with detransitioners on Pat's podcast. The woman was named Luca Hine, and what she talked about, and it really hit home, was that when you make the decision to do an elective surgery like that, when you're 14, 15 years old and you want to go through gender reassignment surgery, the trans community backs you. They support you. We've got your back on this. Go for it. Let's do this. Then you make that transition, and then you go, oh, this doesn't feel right. I want to go back, and they abandon you. And it was so hurtful. Like, she was crying and telling the story of how she'll never be able to have children. They took away her breasts, and then when she's already depressed, she's already sad, and now she wants to go back and be the person she was before. The entire community that embraced her and convinced her to do this operation turned their backs on her, ostracized her, criticized her.
It was faux embrace from the beginning, and I genuinely believe there's a ton of misery loves company. A lot of these people have either they enjoy the abuse, or they enjoy the power, the domination that comes with it, or they regret the decision as well, and they want other people to continue to suffer with them. And the apostates need to be punished the most.
I agree.
If you should go and watch, if I'm going to plug anything, go watch The Dark Side of Detransitioning with Patrick Bet-David. It's a podcast from about 6 months ago, but it really tells the story of what these people go through when they try and detransition, and how the LGBTQ trans community ostracizes them and makes them feel like they are the bad guys for just wanting to go back to who they were in the beginning.
F them.
And on the genital procedure front, it's just as bad for women who try to become men, because the way they do these phalloplasties, where they create an artificial penis, they essentially strip all the skin and flesh off your forearm.
Oh my God.
Roll it up into a tube and then just stitch it on. Congratulations.
It's the worst thing I've
but
ever
when you look at
But there's no nerve
truly,
endings or anything for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, can you feel?
not for a neo-vagina either. It doesn't
it
work.
can't.
That's the thing. These are open wounds they're creating so that you can pretend.
Again,
that
and
there's holes down there now.
As
Great.
far as I understand, with
Strap-on.
the neo-vagina, it's...
what did he say?
I said, why don't they just use a strap-on instead of mutilating themselves?
that's the common thing to do.
That would be what a therapist would say if the therapist was allowed therapizing and it hadn't been criminalized as they've done in Canada. No, it is wild. But also, if we can bring up Kayla Pollock, who's been offered death 3 times unsolicited by the government, has to resort to a give, send, go so that she can raise the money for her life, while this individual gets an elective Frankensteinian experimental surgery paid for at taxpayer dollars in a foreign country.
On the medical procedure front in Canada, Wasn't there just a guy who had 2 fingers on his hand chopped off? Did you hear about this?
No.
There was a guy, I forget where in Canada, and I don't know if this was covered by the healthcare plan or not. He has, for his entire life, has felt like
He had too many fingers.
the 4th and 5th finger on his left hand didn't belong to him. This is a real thing. It's called body integrity dysmorphia.
Oh my
where you feel like body parts don't belong to you, you shouldn't have them.
Well, this penis belongs to like a 5-year-old kid, so small.
He just had the fingers removed in an elective surgery.
Shut up! It was a Quebec man has 2 fingers amputated to cure body integrity dysphoria.
What is wrong with?
There was a blind one
woman
too.
who thought she was thought she was blind.
She poured acid in her eyes.
It's a wild thing where I mean I don't even want to say what I was saying.
It's a mental problem, and this goes back to me saying, guys, as crazy as it is and as crazy as you feel, God made you. You are exactly how you were supposed to look. I tell people all the time too. I mean, unless something's really wrong, cleft lip, and you have to fix it, you're okay. Like the girls that do all this work, I'm like, just leave it au naturel. And if you have if you're a boy and you think you're a girl, go talk to someone, not somebody that's like, go for it and chop it off. Talk to people. Look at what was the transition one called? The
dark side of detransitioning.
Dark side of detransitioning. Trust me, in the long run, you're not going to be happy with lopping up all this stuff. I'm telling you.
I think the combination of this.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I think the combination of it is like kids, especially, and everybody, they want to feel like important, like they're fighting for something. That combined with the cultural push to do this, I think that's what's putting them over the edge to do. It's like, oh, this is the battle I'm gonna fight.
Yeah.
And like it's gonna make me unique and important. And I know all these people who are doing it. We're fighting the good fight, and then boom.
So dumb.
But when it comes to adults, there's a certain element. Like people say they get tattoos because they like the way it feels, the endorphins, the mark that it leaves behind. There's some element to that as well. Like I have a big scar on my forearm because I had a phallus created on my thing. What drives me nuts, and I've phrased it in my mind now, so I won't say it badly. There are no shortage of Dr. Mengeles out there. Yes. And what pisses me off the most is that you have people, like the cases of most detransitioners, who say, I wasn't of sound mind when I did this. And nobody told me of the long-term consequences of this, that I'm going to have to dilate this neo-vagina for the rest of my life, otherwise it starts sealing up, that you get hair impacted and then when you do it. Nobody told me this. I was not of sound mind, and there's no shortage of these sick doctors who forget abiding by the do no harm as the Hippocratic Oath, love the fact that they get to play God on other humans who are not of sound mind, and they exploit the mentally ill so that they can carry out their Frankensteinian experiments.
This guy in Quebec now, this is basically he's walking around with his left hand. He really needs to be careful because, as you know, guns are illegal in Canada, so can't be flashing this around.
Like, hey, let me think about that.